All right, welcome to GameMarx Indieview interview here with the guys of Chaosoft, makers of EvilQuest, that just launched on the Xbox Indie service. Let's just go around real quick and introduce yourselves, guys.
Josh Ferguson, lead artist.
Forrest McCorkle, I'm the programmer on the project.
Michael Hogan, I'm a secondary artist.
What do the secondary artists do?
Well, whatever we tell them. Whatever you do. Whatever they tell me to. In the case
Did you get coffee for anyone?
No, not this time.
Not this time.
We did get old Wisconsin beef bites for us every time we met.
You know, I think they probably, owe us some promotional fees.
Sponsorship is due. Something like that.
Well, EvilQuest is doing pretty well on the service right now. I checked it today, and it was ranking up in the top downloads list.
Yeah.
You guys got to be feeling pretty good about that, right?
Most definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
This is your second game on the service, so how's it doing compared to Chaos Shift?
I'd outsold it in one day.
I would say it's worlds apart.
I'm kind of curious. What did you guys build behind the scenes to make this? Did you create a level editor? Did you use a level editor? Is it your engine?
It's totally an engine that I developed myself. For rendering the map, I used the TileEd library.
Did you use the tiled map editor?
Yes, I used the tiled map editor.
I'm a big fan of that. I love that.
Yeah, it's tough to work with sometimes, but it gets the job done, and it's a pretty nice little program. The engine built it on top of the TileEd lid, but it's pretty much 100% original.
You did all your own sound effects, or you did a lot of the sound effects? Like, did you guys go into like a sound effects room and like drop books on a floor and do crazy stuff like that?
Well, we had several approaches there. We used several royalty-free sound effects websites, and I would say more than that, we use a program called BFXR.
What is BFXR? I've not heard of it.
It basically just takes sine waves and square waves and different methods of producing sounds and comes up with random sounds for you.
Okay, is that open source? Is that something people can use, or is that a paid product?
It's actually a web-based product.
We also used some just general sound editors to cut files together to, take individual effects and combine them.
I've played through about maybe 3/4 of the game. Right now, I'm deep in the volcano, fighting the volcano boss.
Probably about 1/4 of the way through the game then.
Really? Because I haven't... okay, so there's a lot more content after unlocking the seal, because the seal's almost broken at this point.
Right. It's probably... you're about to open the second seal. There's 2 more, and then there's some
Well, that's pretty impressive, because if I'm just about 1/4 through, I think my playtime is about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
How long did you guys work on this game?
Well, development time was roughly, I'd say 10 months. We pretty much finished it up around the middle of October, but decided that it would be a bad time to release the game, considering all the really heavyweight titles that were coming out at the time. That plus the holiday season just kind of led us to believe that it wasn't a good time, so we just kind of sat on it for a couple of months.
Who was the initial idea man? Who was the guy that, hey, I got an idea, EvilQuest, you play the villain?
We'll have to credit all of that to Forrest.
Yeah, I came up with the original idea, but these guys definitely had a lot of input on the story once we started to flesh it out and everything.
What did you do to convey your idea to these guys? Did you just a lot of talking, or did you come up with design docs? How did you approach
There's a lot of talking. We made heavy use of a forum that we have set up for the 3 of us. It's a private forum, and I think it's a great way for a small team to really get their ideas together. And we didn't necessarily do a design document, but if you go back and read the forum, it's sort of a loose design document.
Did you feature freeze, or did you kind of like add in stuff as you go constantly, and then somebody eventually had to yell, okay, we're never going to ship this if we don't?
Yeah, there was definitely feature creep involved in this project. The original concept was much simpler than what it ended up being. The original story was a lot simpler. We didn't have all these gods and demons, and it was basically just an evil asshole going out to destroy the world. It was much simpler in concept. What we ended up with is a lot better.
The way that the whole project started, I think, is kind of interesting. I was at a cabin with my family over the holidays last year, and Forrest was sitting at home just kind of bored and decided to try his hand at coding a 2D engine, and he really kind of put the whole basic engine together in just a span of about a week. And when I came back from vacation, he was like, look at what I have here, and we just kind of built on it from there. After about 3 months of working on it, I realized on the art side of things that if we wanted to release this project in a reasonable amount of time, that I needed to get some help. And so that was about March was when I contacted Michael to come on board and help, and then he saw it through with us the rest of the way until we finished development.
So you did a lot of the art assets?
So we kind of divvied up responsibilities. A lot of the communication took place on the forum to do that, and we had several face-to-face meetings at Forest House. My responsibilities in the beginning were a lot of the enemy sprites that you'll see throughout the game.
So you were in charge of palette swaps. There's a lot of palette swaps to make the game. Not saying it's a bad thing.
One thing, though, that we made sure to do is not to use any single enemy more than 3 times. So I can guarantee that you will not find any enemy in that game that appears more than 3 times in palette swaps. Because I think except for the soldiers and knights and some of those, which is debatable if you want to consider that a monster or whatever.
So do you have a favorite monster that you did?
Oh gosh, a favorite. I'd say it's a tie between the mage enemy. If you see him in the game, he's got a kind of a robe on and parted brown hair, depending on which palette swap you're looking at. And I also did one of the 2 dragon sprites we did in the game. That one was probably the most labor intensive for me. That's one of my
You guys didn't do service to dragons. Dragons, I was kind of... I was like, you know, they're not getting, they're in a dungeon all of a sudden, they're dragons, you know, and they just, you know, kill some dragons. Like,
yeah, that's probably my fault. I kind of pushed for having the dragons all at the end in the final dungeon. Don't want to give away too many spoilers, but I was the one that was kind of pushing for less dragons throughout the main part of the story.
The boss battles have been interesting so far, and it's not RPG typical. Of an RPG boss battle. So where did that idea come from? Is there another game that I just didn't play that this comes from, or would you just like, we want to have this more action-oriented?
I wanted more epic bosses from a design standpoint. I feel like, you know, one thing that a lot of people are pointing out is the game Chrysalis. Obviously, Evil Quest is derivative of Chrysalis, and we won't deny that at all. But if you look at the bosses in that game, they're pretty pitiful when you get down to it. And so I wanted much more exciting, larger scale boss fights, you know, the kind that really have you looking forward to the boss fights.
Because the game reminds me a lot. I have not played Chrysalis, but I played the original Legend of Zelda, and it reminds me a lot of that because it's more adventure than JRPG.
Well, we tried to combine a lot of the elements of JRPG, for instance, the town interactions and the shopping and all that sort of thing. That is really, you don't really find that in the old school Zelda games. It's more like a Final Fantasy. We try to combine that with the action adventure elements from Zelda to try to create something that's more of a hybrid of both.
So other than Chrysalis, any other games that you think influenced?
We're getting a lot of comparisons to Secret of Mana, which honestly is a game I never actually played. So I find that interesting that we're getting that conclusion drawn. Several classic 16-bit Squaresoft titles are being compared to Evil Quest, and
it's
that's
really
flattering.
yeah. I mean, it's really a factor of like what your upbringing is and what you played and what you might have missed. If there's an Evil Quest 2, and I know it's only been out like 10 days. You guys are partying, you're relaxing and basking in the glow of success. What is like perking in your mind? Like, what things did you not get to do in Evil Quest or wanted to add in, but it was too big that might come out in Evil Quest 2 or a follow-up game?
More variety in the enemies, more original enemies, more puzzles, maybe some different abilities that you didn't see in Evil Quest that we thought should have been in there. But, you know, it's early right now, so who knows.
I did catch one puzzle. I caught one puzzle so far in the Egyptian tomb for which switches to flip. I didn't realize there was a puzzle until after I got the door open. So I flipped all 4 switches in this room before I realized on the wall it's telling me which 2 to flip. I just started arbitrarily flipping this one on, that one off, this one on, that one off, and like in 2 or 3 tries it opened, and then I noticed, oh look, these, oh okay, that's what I was supposed to do there.
That's been the general reaction to that puzzle. Is usually as soon as people saw it, they're like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Is there more like that coming, or was that kind of like the one and like we didn't get more of those in?
We didn't put a whole lot of puzzles into the game. It's sometimes I feel like puzzles slow down the action too much in a action RPG. So we didn't really focus on those, but it's something that we could definitely focus on in the future in another project.
Who is the writer? Dialogue?
I wrote most of the dialogue. We kind of tweaked it together, but I wrote most of it.
What was your process for that? It came out, I want to say it came out fairly well, because playing a lot of indie games, dialogue, and they just self-indulgent and not shutting up and not letting me play the game is a problem.
Right.
And this is not that. It was done very well. I get the point, and we're out, and we're back in the action.
Right. The process was to, just try to think in the way that a total asshole would think, and think, what is the most atypical reaction that a traditional RPG hero could have to a conversation with an NPC, and run with that.
Kick him in the stomach.
Yeah, kick him in the stomach, kill him, stab him,
And that's it. I don't have to worry about there was a quest for this guy because I just killed him.
Right.
So obviously...
Right. He's not supposed to be a highly developed character. He's just a total bastard that just wants to destroy the world.
Do you have any Easter eggs that you put in the game? Any hidden?
Maybe. Yeah.
I would say there's a couple.
Yeah.
So there's stuff to look for. You don't have to spoilers or anything like that, but just there's something to look for. Did you put those in early? Did you know, hey, I want to put in this hidden stuff? Or was that hey, we're polishing and let's add some fun things?
Well, Forrest mentioned our forum earlier, that our private forum that we use to discuss development issues and ideas, and I made a thread on the forum called Easter eggs, and we threw out some ideas and discussed them, and it basically came down to, if there's time to put these in the game, we will, and there was time to put a few of them in there. So
put some references to some other games, and they're not quite as obvious as they are in some other games that have come out recently, but they're there.
All right, excellent. So now that you guys got this out, obviously Xbox Live Indie Games, X&A, a lot of uncertainty is a nice way to say it in the future.
A lot of negativity, I think.
A lot of negativity, not quite sure what the plan is going forward, so it's hard to guess. What are you guys feeling? Are you guys feeling that you're going to more Xbox Live Indie games, or are you going to, at this point, try to look out into other platforms?
Oh, I would say definitely our next project would be an X&A project that we would release on Xbox Indie Games.
Okay, so you're still sticking with Xbox Indie Games. Are you going to look at porting Evil Quest to any other platforms?
Absolutely.
And releases there?
Absolutely. It's not. There's not much porting to do, bringing it from Xbox Indies to the PC, but that's the first priority. And from there, I'm not really sure what we're going to do with it, if we're going to port it anywhere else, but it's certainly a possibility.
Several people have mentioned to us that we should port it to handheld devices. I think the control scheme of the game is going to have to be entirely reworked if that's going to happen. So
that's a whole other interview. If you figure that out and have an excellent control scheme for an RPG, I will be right back here doing another interview. And then probably cloning or ripping off your game too. To be honest. I want to thank you guys for taking time, letting me do the interview here, and doing this, and thank you for inviting me to your release party. It's been pretty cool.
Thank you for everything you do. Yeah.
All right. This has been Chaosoft, and we're here celebrating the release of Evil Quest.